I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come. The United States will continue to enforce our laws and secure our border. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
The speech that Kamala Harris gave in June of 2021 doesn't really have much to do with the topic at hand, but it is a reminder of the brain death our government seemed to suffer during the Biden years. But the truth is that the issue of border security and the intransigence of both political parties to find a real solution to the issue began before Biden and before Trump. As I mentioned in the first episode of this series, illegal immigration became a contentious political issue in 2006 during the second term of George W. Bush. That's when the number of undocumented foreigners reached what was then an historical high of more than 12 million people. To better understand how the issue caused such intense distrust and polarization between Republicans and Democrats, we should go back to the year 1986. That's when President Ronald Reagan signed into law the Immigration Control and Reform Act. The act, known as IRCA, granted amnesty to some 3 million undocumented immigrants. The law provided a one-time opportunity to individuals who could prove continuous residency for the 4 years prior to the signing of the act. Reagan's idea for the bill that it was to be contingent on tightening control of people crossing the border and by punishing employers who knowingly gave jobs to illegal immigrants. Yada, yada, yada. Suffice it to say, none of that actually happened. People still came across the southern border and they still found jobs. Conservatives were pissed, and California, which had been considered politically competitive up to that point, turned solid blue. So, when 2006 came around and the issue once again became part of the national debate, the mistrust between the sides was firmly in place. The Democrats argued for comprehensive immigration reform, that is, simultaneously agreeing on a path to citizenship for those already in the country while taking measures to secure the border. The Republicans insisted that the border be secured first before even considering any kind of amnesty for anyone. In fact, many Republicans flat out opposed the idea of amnesty in the first place. They believed the Democrats were trying to increase their power by legalizing illegals who overwhelmingly tended to support the Blue Party. Given my feelings about the Democratic Party by that time, I found it hard to disagree with that position. It seemed to me that for both sides, illegal immigration became more valuable as a campaign issue than it was as a real problem to be solved. In many places, candidates could not deviate from their entrenched positions lest they be punished by the extreme elements of their constituencies who seem to increasingly rule the day in both parties. We're still talking pre-Trump, but there was kind of a common understanding that it was impractical, if not impossible, to remove all 12 million illegal aliens. I still think that's a commonly held belief, but the issue remains. What are we going to do about it? Enter Donald Trump. Trump, even before he ran for president, has always been vocal on the issue. One of his first acts as president was to end the policy known as catch and release, whereby people encountered at the border would be released into the country pending an immigration hearing. That process had a backlog wait of about 2 years. Anyway, I must now address the issue of Donald Trump and the opposition's reaction to the new president. I can't myself explain the phenomena of Donald Trump. From the moment he descended the escalator in Trump Tower to announce his candidacy to the moment he was sworn in as the 45th president, I was dumbfounded. I supported him mostly because, what the hell, I didn't think the country could take another 4 years of Democratic rule. But he often said things during the campaign that I didn't think he would be able to survive, yet the primary process was never even close on the Republican side. After being sworn in, the resistance to Trump by the Democrats and the left-leaning press was swift and absolute. Everything Trump did seemed to be an impeachable offense. I still find it ironic to refer to some elements of his first government as the Trump administration. The FBI went after the new National Security Advisor, General Michael Flynn, just 4 days after the inauguration. Calling the DOJ and the State Department Trump's DOJ and Trump's State Department seemed to be an oxymoron, since they all apparently opposed him on all of his policy decisions. Trump could pet a kitten, and they would say he's doing it to cover up the illegal stuff he's been doing, and anyway, even Hitler couldn't resist a cute little kitten. Think I'm kidding? In the final State of the Union speech from his first term, Trump mentioned that a virus was spreading and that there were already cases in the United States. Democrats and pundits said that he was trying to distract the public from his controversial contact with Ukrainian President Zelensky. After the outbreak became widespread, he stopped flights from China and other countries, and he was branded a racist. Even though he fast-tracked the development of a vaccine, some commentators and politicians expressed skepticism of any drug developed under Trump's guidance. Of course, after the election, the same vaccine became practically mandatory. Even Pfizer was suspected of delaying the release of the vaccine until 6 days after the 2016 election. Trump pushed for faster manufacturing of respirators, but it was all mismanaged. It had to be. It was Trump's doing. That trend was established in the early days of Trump's first administration, and it still exists today in many circles. One day soon, I intend to do a presentation about that whole situation. Then, in 2020, Joe Biden was elected, and there was a rush to undo everything the bad Donald Trump did. In the realm of immigration policy, this included ending the stay in Mexico policy and lifting restrictions on catch and release. Despite Kamala Harris's speech in 2017, people started pouring across the border. 8 million border encounters, plus another 2 million known gotaways and another estimated 2 million unknown gotaways in the 4 years of the Biden administration. And I don't remember a single Democrat opposing the policy until it became a serious issue in the 2020 elections. The press even refused to refer to the situation as a crisis until the final year of the Biden White House. By then, there was really no denying the scope of the problem. And anyway, according to Democrats, it was Trump's bad policy that got us here in the first place. Something I don't think that many people realize is that our government, the United States government, helped support much of the migration. Bret Weinstein, purveyor of the Dark Horse podcast, traveled to the Darien Gap in Panama in January of 2024 to observe the situation for himself. It's truly astounding what he found. Weinstein found that a large network of NGOs funded by the United States and other international relief organizations were providing a wide array of assistance to migrants traveling to the U.S. These include cash, food security, and legal advice for those heading north towards Mexico. I don't have time to describe it all here. The Dark Horse podcast, which he hosts along with his wife, Heather Hang, is available on Rumble and on YouTube. I highly recommend it. I shall leave a link to episodes where you can hear him describe some of his findings. As best as I can tell, there are now some 15 million undocumented migrants in the United States. I'm going with an estimate that is much lower than that offered by other sources so as not to appear too biased. At any rate, according to an October 2025 Harvard-Harris poll, 56% of all registered voters now believe that all illegal aliens should be removed. I found the result to be surprising, but I assume it was largely due to the consequences caused by the chaotic incompetence of the previous administration. Some things about the pro-immigration argument simply defy logic. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont believes that we should have a $17 per hour minimum wage. He also believes that illegal migrants should be given citizenship. Senator, wouldn't wages rise organically if we had fewer workers? And anyway, it seems like every time the minimum wage is increased, as like in the case of California, tens of thousands of people actually lose their jobs. Then there are those who say that we need those workers to do jobs that Americans won't do. I'm sorry, but doesn't anyone on your side think that sounds a little racist? I mean, aren't you saying that we need an underclass of mostly brown people to do the dirty jobs in the country? And what happens when those people become citizens? Will we need to import even more because that kind of work is beneath the dignity of those we recently legalized? Look, Donald Trump came into office, and within a week, the border was closed. The Democrats howled, but the border became secure. Were his measures extreme? I guess so, but it worked. And now the Democrats can no longer lecture us on how it should be done. What about the mass removal of immigrants by ICE agents in our major cities? I did a series on just that subject, and I invite you to watch it. I'll leave a link in the description. Is it fair? I've already said on previous occasions that I don't believe it is. Some people have lived in the country for decades with no problems. They work and pay taxes. They contribute to Social Security, yet they are legally ineligible for the benefits of those contributions. As I said in the first chapter of this series, I just wish some people would at least acknowledge the United States' role in allowing the situation to develop as it has. So no, it's not entirely fair. But the issue of fairness was largely taken off the table by the Biden administration. It unfairly subjected the country to the policy of allowing and even encouraging millions of people to simply cross into the U.S. so easily. That is one of the main reasons that Trump was elected in the first place, dummies. Now it's your turn. Own up to it and take some responsibility. I still insist that the genesis of the issue during the previous 5 years is the product of an unreasonable hatred toward Donald Trump, which persists to this day. Governor Tim Walz has finally admitted that maybe there are some criminals that should be removed from our neighborhoods, but it looked like he had a really hard time saying so. Anyway, the deportation shall continue, and at some point, probably after Donald Trump is gone, the country shall stop and take stock of the situation. Everyone is right to point out that what is needed to really fix the issue is for Congress to pass laws to address the reality of the situation. Trump was sent to deal with the problem, but only our legislators can codify policies into law. The thing is, as I said before, I don't think they want to. One side wants to naturalize everyone for political benefit, and the other side wants to kick everyone out for political benefit. The electoral issue still seems to have more value to our politicians than the solution. I wish I had a rosier outlook for the future of this problem. Like so many issues, first, there must be a cleanup of the gigantic mess by our previous bad governments, and especially by the Biden administration, before we can even begin to have the conversation of how to create a sane immigration policy. Thanks for watching. This is Pablo El Molinero.